Alright, let's talk about a dream that's been simmering in the back of a lot of folks' minds, living on a sailboat full-time. Not just for a weekend jaunt or a summer escape, but making that boat your one and only home. Waking up to the sound of water gently lapping at the hull, sipping your morning coffee in the cockpit, and having the freedom to point your bow toward anywhere that calls your name. Now, I've been around boats most of my life, and I've seen just about every setup you can imagine. Some that make you wonder how folks manage, and others that feel like a floating sanctuary. But the truth is, not every sailboat is cut out to be a full-time home. You need the right blend of comfort, practicality, seaworthiness, and just enough space to stay sane when the weather's bad and the anchor's down for a while. So, in this video, I'm sharing my top 10 sailboats you can live on forever. These boats aren't fantasy yachts or impossible-to-find one-offs. They're real boats that real people live aboard every day, whether they're dockside dreamers or full-blown ocean-crossing adventurers. Whether you're just dipping your toes into the liveaboard lifestyle or hunting for your forever boat, this list is for you. Let's dive in. If you've spent any time around marinas or boatyards, chances are you've seen a Catalina 30 tucked in somewhere. These boats are everywhere, and for good reason. Built to be affordable, forgiving to sail, and surprisingly spacious down below, the Catalina 30 became one of the most popular production sailboats ever made. What makes it shine as a liveaboard is the smart use of interior space. You step down below and you're met with standing headroom, a full galley, and room enough to actually stretch out. It doesn't feel like a weekend boat, it feels like a small, floating apartment. Now, is it built like a tank? No. But for coastal cruising or staying tied up in a marina, it's more than capable. And with the massive number of these boats out there, parts are easy to find, and there's a huge community of owners who've done just about every modification you can imagine. You'll find folks living aboard these boats from the Pacific Northwest to the Florida Keys. It's one of those boats where, if you're willing to keep things simple and cozy, you really can live aboard it for years and be perfectly content. The Alberg 35 is like that old Volvo wagon that keeps going long after everything else has rusted away. Built with thick fiberglass and a full keel, it's the kind of boat that inspires confidence just by looking at it. This isn't a flashy modern cruiser, it's a salty, capable, no-nonsense sailboat that's carried more than a few dreamers across oceans. And yet, you'll also find folks who've dropped anchor and made it home, whether they're swinging on the hook in the Caribbean or tucked into a quiet harbor in New England. The inside isn't huge, but it's cleverly laid out. There's enough headroom for most folks, and with a little creative storage and maybe a refit or two, it becomes surprisingly livable. The charm of this boat is in its simplicity. Systems are basic, meaning fewer things to break and more time to just sail or relax. It appeals to the minimalist, the sailor who's less interested in creature comforts and more in self-reliance and classic lines. If you want a boat that makes you feel connected to the old-school roots of cruising life, the Alberg 35 delivers. Now, we're jumping into something a bit more modern with the Beneteau Oceanis 38. This is the kind of boat that makes liveaboard life feel a little more like a floating condo. Open interiors, big windows, and a layout that invites lounging. These boats are popular among younger cruisers and folks who want the comforts of home but still crave the freedom of a sailboat. The cabin feels huge for the size, with loads of natural light and smart use of modular space, especially in newer versions. But don't let the comforts fool you. It's still a capable cruiser. The Oceanis 38 has solid coastal cruising credentials and can handle longer passages if outfitted properly. You'll find roomy cabins, a full galley that's actually pleasant to cook in, and a head that doesn't feel like a gym locker. This boat is a great option for couples or small families who want to move aboard without feeling like they're sacrificing everything. It's not built like a tank, but with good maintenance and care, it'll take you far and keep you comfortable along the way. Plus, it's got that modern look that turns heads at anchor. The Island Packet 38 is a boat that just feels like home from the moment you step aboard. It's got that warm, cozy, classic cruising interior with plenty of teak and a layout that makes sense for living aboard. But where it really shines is out on the water. Full keel, heavy displacement, and built like a small fortress. This boat is made for long-haul cruising and sitting comfortably at anchor for months at a time. You don't just live on this boat. You move your life onto it and take it wherever you want to go. One of the biggest perks is storage. There's tons of it. Deep lockers, clever cabinetry, and enough room to bring along all the gear, books, tools, and spare parts you need for a self-sufficient lifestyle. It's a favorite among serious cruisers and retirees who've said goodbye to land and hello to a slower, saltier way of life. The cockpit's safe and deep, and the motion underway is forgiving. You'll pay a bit more for one in good shape, but that's because they hold value, both financially and emotionally. If I had to pick a boat to live out my days on, the Island Packet 38 would be way up on the list. The Tartan 37 is one of those boats that hits the sweet spot between comfort and performance. It's got the bones for serious sailing, fast enough to be fun, sturdy enough to be safe, and yet, down below, it feels like a proper home. There's something about the layout and build quality that just works. You've got real wood, thoughtful design, and enough space to live aboard without constantly bumping elbows. It's one of those boats that makes you think, yeah, I could actually do this. What stands out with the Tartan 37 is how well it suits a variety of liveaboard lifestyles. Whether you're docked full-time, cruising the coast, or doing longer blue water legs, this boat adapts. It's not overly complex, but it's refined. The systems are manageable, and the sailing performance means you're not stuck motoring everywhere when the wind isn't perfect. You get a V-berth that doesn't feel like a coffin, a proper nav station, and a galley that invites real meals instead of microwave dinners. It's a sailor's boat, no doubt, but also a liveaboard's dream. The Hallberg-Rassy 36 is the kind of boat that makes you feel like you've made it. Built in Sweden, with the kind of attention to detail that turns sailors into loyal fans for life, this boat isn't just a home, it's a statement. The craftsmanship is top-notch, with a cozy, beautifully finished interior that feels more like a cabin than a cabin. There's teak where it matters, smart layouts throughout, and everything has a solid, purposeful feel to it. You can tell it was made by people who actually sail. What makes the Hallberg-Rassy 36 especially good for living aboard is how comfortable and safe it feels in a wide range of conditions. Whether you're riding out a storm offshore or tucked into a northern fjord, this boat feels steady and sure. Systems are well thought out, access is good for maintenance, and the build quality gives you peace of mind. It's ideal for a solo sailor or a couple who values comfort, security, and a boat that'll keep going when others turn back. If you're serious about cruising and want to do it in style and safety, the Hallberg-Rassy 36 is a top-tier choice. The Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 40 is a sleek, spacious cruiser that makes the liveaboard lifestyle feel a little more luxurious without breaking the bank. It's got modern lines, a bright and airy interior, and just enough space to stretch out without feeling like you're sailing a small ship. The cabins are generous, the saloon is wide open, and there's often a proper nav station and two heads, depending on the layout. It's a favorite among families and couples who want more elbow room than older boats typically offer. What really sells this boat for full-time living is the livability. It just feels comfortable. You can cook, read, work, relax, and sleep without constantly shuffling things around or stepping over each other. And it sails well, too. It's not a hardcore blue water boat by default, but plenty of owners have taken them far afield with some smart upgrades. Maintenance is straightforward, parts are easy to come by, and there's strong community support out there. If you're looking for a boat that's big enough for a proper life aboard but still manageable and fun to sail, the Sun Odyssey 40 ticks a lot of boxes. The Hylas 44 is a true cruiser's cruiser, built tough, beautifully finished, and ready to go just about anywhere. These boats are often found out in the world, not just tied to the dock. With a center cockpit and strong hull, it's got that serious offshore look and feel, but inside it's all warmth and livable charm. There's a spacious aft cabin with great ventilation, loads of storage, and enough room throughout the boat to make it feel like a proper home, not just a vessel. One of the biggest perks of living aboard a Hylas 44 is how self-sufficient it can be. You got space for solar, water makers, big tank it. It's built to keep you off-grid for weeks or even months if you want. And while it's no lightweight, it sails well enough that you won't dread long passages. Everything on board is built with a certain seriousness, but it still feels like a pleasure to live with day to day. You see a lot of these boats in the Caribbean, in the South Pacific, and anywhere people are living the real blue water life. It's a liveaboard boat that's just as comfortable out at sea as it is in the marina. The Pacific Seacraft 37 is a boat with a reputation. It's the go-anywhere, survive-anything kind of cruiser that serious sailors dream about. Built solid, with a moderate displacement, and full keel with a skeg-hung rudder, it's designed for comfort and control in offshore conditions. But despite its rugged pedigree, it's also a surprisingly comfortable liveaboard. The layout is traditional but thoughtful, with a warm wood interior and just enough space to make it a real home. Where the Pacific Seacraft 37 really shines is in the details. Everything is built with purpose, from the secure galley to the well-sized berth, and you'll find clever storage tucked into just about every corner. It's a solo sailor's dream, and just right for a couple who values quality over square footage. While it doesn't have the expansive interior of some newer boats, it more than makes up for that with its seaworthiness and reliability. It's not for those chasing luxury, but for sailors chasing sunsets over distant horizons, it's hard to beat. This is the kind of boat that gets nods of respect in anchorages around the world. If there's one boat that feels like it was purpose-built for long-term liveaboard life, it's the Amel Super Maramu. This is the full-time cruiser's Swiss Army knife. Robust, smart, and ready for serious miles. Built for world cruising, it's catch-rigged with systems that are as close to bulletproof as you'll find in a production boat. From the electric furlers to the walk-in engine room, everything is designed to be handled easily by a couple or even a solo sailor. It's like a floating command center with style. Inside, the Super Maramu feels more like a small floating apartment than a sailboat. The galley is secure and well-equipped. There's a huge aft cabin, and the saloon is inviting and spacious. There's tankage and storage galore, and the systems were built with redundancy and reliability in mind. Owners tend to hang on to these boats because they're just so damn good at what they do. Whether you're crossing oceans or just living comfortably at anchor, the Super Maramu gives you a sense of confidence and ease. It's not cheap and it's not flashy, but it's earned its legendary status among liveaboards who've sailed it all. So there you have it. 10 sailboats that real people are living aboard right now, from classic full-keel cruisers to modern floating condos. Each one has its own flavor, its own strengths, and its own little quirks, but they all share one big thing in common. They make life on the water not just possible, but genuinely enjoyable. Living on a sailboat isn't always sunshine and sea turtles. It takes patience, a bit of grit, and a good sense of humor. But with the right boat under your feet, it becomes something more than just a lifestyle. It becomes a way of being. Whether you're dreaming of anchoring off a palm-fringed island, sipping coffee in a quiet marina, or crossing wide oceans with nothing but the stars and wind, the boat you choose becomes your whole world. It carries your stories, your messes, your memories. So if you're thinking about making the leap into liveaboard life, I hope this list gives you a head start. And remember, the best boat isn't always the biggest or the fanciest. It's the one that feels like home when you slide back the hatch and step below. Thanks for hanging out with me today. See you out there.